Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's EBC. We're in Lakeville at Casperson Park thinking about Luke 23 verses 33 to 43. And this is the reading for Christ the King Sunday. It's the last Sunday in the church year before we head off again into Advent and Christmas and then all things in the next year. Now, this seems like the end, and this reading is actually all about the crucifixion as Luke tells it. And it's a little bit sort of maybe counterintuitive in the first moment because we know that the answer is this is not the end, right? Jesus is not going to just stop the story at he was crucified. There'll be 3 days and then he'll be resurrected and then he'll meet with his disciples and tell them that they have salvation. And we all know that we have salvation through Jesus. And so in some ways, this feels like an odd spot to be celebrating the end of the church year when it's clearly not the end of Jesus' story. But I want to focus on this for a moment from the standpoint of what looked like the end and what Jesus was doing even at the end. In this story, the first thing that happens is Jesus is being crucified in the midst of that happening, and he says, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." It's an incredible moment where Jesus, in the middle of that suffering, is still thinking of others, still thinking of us, and handing out that, praying for that grace and forgiveness, even in that moment of his suffering. Then, in Luke, we have the back and forth with the two criminals who are crucified alongside Jesus. And one of them is joining in with the crowds and saying, "Hey, look, if you're the king of the Jews, why don't you save yourself? And while you're at it, us too." And the other criminal says, "Look, we're getting what we deserve. We're criminals. This man's done nothing wrong." He says, "Jesus, remember me." And Jesus, again, is giving that grace, expressing that forgiveness. "Today you will be with me in paradise." It's an incredibly important reminder that even in those moments for us that are sort of the worst of our times, that are the moments where it looks like it's the end, that we have an opportunity to extend grace and extend forgiveness. And even though in those same moments Jesus is there extending grace and forgiveness and helping us as well. So as we think about the end of this church year, I also want to emphasize the fact that the end is also the beginning of the next church year. If we think about the perspective we have at the moment, while we're here today, I'm sort of at my last stop, right? I couldn't go any further before I'm falling down this little hole and I'm now down in the lake. It looks like this might be the end. But whether it's the end or the beginning is always a matter of perspective, and the next thing is always there for us. No matter where we are on our life's journey, there's something else for us to do, just like Jesus was able to still be forgiving people, still be extending his grace, even at his last earthly moments. And if we change our perspective just a little bit, we see that it isn't the end, but rather simply the path that we are on, extending out into our future with Jesus by our side, that makes this a fantastic day to celebrate Christ the King. Everyone, have a great week.